What's going on, everybody? Pat from Obscure Reference here, back with another movie review. This time we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This just came out. It's directed by Jeff Fowler, starring Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, Idris Elba as Knuckles, and Keanu Reeves as Shadow, as well as Jim Carrey as two different Robotniks, and James Marsden and Tika Sumpter reprising their roles from the first two movies. Yeah, and this was a delightful time. I sat down as a flagrant adult in this movie theater and watched this movie, and I'll admit I got hyped. I laughed, and I might have teared up a little bit. Um, and before I go any further, I just want y'all to know I have Sonic Adventure 2 loaded up on my Steam page. I'm about to start the install. That's how much I enjoyed this movie. Uh, so we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna try and finish this review before the install's over. So it's gonna be a little bit of race against time, which is fitting for Sonic. So we're just gonna click install on that, and hopefully my that'll download pretty quickly. Anyway, so yeah, brief spoiler-free thoughts. This was easily the best Sonic movie. There's a lot happening here. Oh, that download's going fast. Never mind. Easily the best Sonic movie. Less human stuff, which is good. I think that was my big problem with the last movie, which I otherwise enjoyed. Was there's too much human stuff happening with the wedding and all that stuff. Here, there's certainly less of it, but James Marsden and Tika Sumpter still have a role to play, though it's a lot. It's very much reduced from what it was in the second movie. It's mostly Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and Robotnik doing their things, and real quick, want to shout out Jim Carrey playing two different Robotniks. I can't give my full thoughts on that because I don't want to get into spoilers. So just to briefly cap off my spoiler-free section here, it was good. If you like the first two Sonic movies, you'll really enjoy this. If you've ever played Sonic Adventure 2, you'll love this. If you've ever been a fan of Sonic, you'll love this. This is easily, I think, the most approachable Sonic movie. I think this is the most bare bones. Like, this is what makes a movie a movie. This is really good. This was yeah, the jokes are funny. There's some really good jokes here. They're also keep in mind too, mainly a kids movie. You're not gonna get away from that. So there might be some eye rolls, and honestly, there were far less in this one than there were in the first two. So overall, yeah, great movie, good time. Would see it again. All right, gotta talk spoilers though. So if you haven't seen this, if you want to go see it, go see it. I'll be here. This content will be here when you come back and finish it and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's talk spoilers. All right. So yeah, main cast performances. I think Ben Schwartz and Colleen and Idris Elba and all the those main three always knock it out of the park. I think having just watched the Knuckles miniseries this last week, Idris Elba is just Knuckles to me at this point. Going back and playing old games, hearing his original voice just kind of throws me off, but he does a great job here. All of them do. I think Keanu is the only one that feels like, huh? But at the same time, it's also kind of what you get when you cast Keanu, and that's no shade against him. That's just who he is. I think you get what you pay for with that. So it's he's great. He's got some great one-liners. Revenge Guac is a stand-up for me. But then the human performances, I think, are fine. Kristen Ritter's in this movie, and I almost forgot about that because she's in this for like two big scenes, and that's it. But I also think that speaks to the economy of screen time that they're doing with the human characters and the Sonic characters, where it's a lot more focus on Sonic and friends as opposed to the human characters. That being said, I think James Marsden role, while reduced in this one, I think um, his was a lot more poignant, poignant. Um, I mean, we start at the beginning of the movie telling Sonic, hey, don't let your anger guide your decisions. When the time is right, I know you'll make the right decision, that kind of a thing. So then when he gets his chest caved in by Shadow, like, it's not that violent, but it's close. Um, it was pretty clear that's where the movie was going. Like, nothing in this movie is like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. It's pretty predictable, but I've also played Sonic 2 at least once or twice. The download's almost done. So seeing Tom get taken out like that was kind of a shock to me. Obviously he's fine. It's a kids movie. You're not going to kill the main characters, quote unquote, parent figures. Um, there was never any doubt in my mind that he was going to get killed. But like the fact that he was out kind of took me. I was like, whoa. Um, yep, there's the download. That's done. Okay, so um, I'm gonna try and keep this a little brief because yeah, Sonic would too. Let's see. Yeah, performances were good. Music. I'll talk about the music. I have to. This is DJ Junkie XL, aka Tom Holkenborg on the keys. This is overall a good score. I Nothing really stood out to me until we get to the moon and Sonic and Shadow are having their own bonding moment, and they power up. They both go Super Sonic, Super Shadow, whatever you want to call it, Super Saiyan, and Live and Learn starts playing, and it might be the most badass version of that song I've ever heard. Now, going into this movie, there were two things I wanted to see. All right, one was City Escape, and the other was Live and Learn. And I guess you don't really see those; you mostly hear those. If you don't know, City Escape is like one of they're both City Escape and Live and Learn are two of the Sonic songs, like the two Sonic songs you hear anytime you think of Sonic songs. Running around at the speed of sound, got places to go, got to follow my dream. I'm not gonna sing it because my voice isn't there yet, but that's iconic. So is Live and Learn. Like that the guitars at the beginning, and you go, meow meow. Okay, I sang anyway, but um, it really hit different seeing it in the theater in a Dolby theaters where I saw it. So like clear visuals and then Dolby surround just blasting Live and Learn was pretty epic. But then there's a hard cut to the Robotniks fighting, and it's like, oh, that was a really jarring cut. So yeah, I think the final act has some balance issues. I think I mostly want to see Sonic and Shadow doing their thing, but they seem to really want Jim Carrey to show Jim Carrey fighting Jim Carrey. Um, so that was that. But yeah, overall music was great. Um, Specifically for Live and Learn, there's like a couple of moments with Live and Learn that I loved. Uh, let's see, and they didn't do anything from Shadow's game as far as I could tell. They didn't do I Am All of Me, which is kind of a miss, but as we saw in the post credit scene, yes, there are two post credit scenes. I'll talk about the first one a little bit later. Um, the second one shows Shadow is alive, which, if you played the games, you know that's how that one goes too. Not a huge shock, but good to see that we're getting Keanu back at some point. Let's see here. Special effects were fine. I think with these movies, I think they have a smaller budget than most other big Hollywood movies. 122 million. That's more than the first two, though. The second one was pretty modest too. But this one, I think the characters still look a little bit jarring when compared to the real world around them. We take them to Tokyo in this movie, and they fit in a little bit. They have a whole Chow Garden thing, which is a fun little homage to the first and second Sonic Adventure games. Um, and they fit in there relatively well. But there's still bits where it's like, oh, well, that's looks a little questionable. But at the same time, it's like they still look really good. It looks well enough where I can suspend my disbelief that this is happening. It's not like, it's not offensively bad. I don't even think it's bad. It's pretty good actually. It's just not as good as it could be. Performances I already talked about. I think yeah, human characters still leave a little to be desired. They're overacting because they do think they're in a kids movie. I think, whereas there's more nuance with the voice performances. That's been the case since the first one. I think James Marsden kind of is a little more locked in on this one, but he's still goofy, over the top. It's a kids movie, so yeah, and that's really how a big part of how I'm able to enjoy these movies is that I'm able to kind of file that away and be like, yeah, that was a kid joke. Yep, that's not for me. Like when they started dancing Uptown Funk in Sonic 2, I'm like, this is not for me. This is not for me. This is definitely for the kids. But there's far less of that. I think this movie takes itself a lot more seriously. There's the jokes. Yeah, like I said, the revenge guac line from Shadow hit. There's a couple of lines from Knuckles where he's just a lovable idiot who just wants to punch things, with a strong sense of honor, of course, and I like that. Um, as far as the ties to his miniseries go, there's really nothing. The fact that Wade is watching over the Master Emerald is the only tie to that, really. You also see him munching on some bread at the Chow Garden. I think that was the Chow Garden, which could be a reference to him being all about the bread they ate at the Shabbat dinner, I think it was. Um, so yeah, I'm sort of rambling, so I'm gonna lock in. The story here is very similar to Sonic Adventure 2. Um, there are some key differences. There's no Bio Lizard. Sad face. It is what it is. If you want to keep this somewhat grounded for a movie about hedgehogs from space almost destroying the world, then yeah, you can't really do a Bio Lizard, I guess. Um, no Rouge the Bat, which is fine. Didn't need that. It would be too much, I think. The Robotnik plot, I think that was actually better than I thought it would be. I didn't expect much. You have a little bit of, um, I don't want to call it a love triangle because that sounds gross, but both Robotniks find each other and they're trying to make up for lost time because, Gerald was in jail and Evo didn't know he was alive. But then you also have Agent Stone, who is his assistant, and I think this is the best he's been in any of the movies. I actually felt bad for him, where he was just trying to catch up with his boss, spend time with his boss, but he was too busy spending time with the grandfather who didn't really care about him, um, and was more focused on getting revenge for the death of another one of his grandchildren. And you get a banger line from Gerald Robotnik, who's like, what does he say? You're no Maria, I think is yeah, yeah. You're no Maria, and that's when they start fighting. And it's cold. It's cold. But before that, they have a lot of really fun jokes, a lot of fun bits, a lot of Jim Carrey. I'm sure being like, "Hey, I've got an idea." They have to go through a hallway full of lasers, and they're wearing like reflective gear. Not on their heads. You can still clearly see their heads, and the lasers clearly going over their heads like it's nothing. It's like, oh, it's a little bit of a logical flaw, but all right, I'll allow it because what we got was really fun. They just start dancing through this hallway, and it feels like a disco scene. It's just like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous, but also this is Jim Carrey, so I don't care. He also has a great moment when both Robotniks first meet, and they both like it's almost like we're being played by the same actor in some movie adaptation. They just turn and look at the camera, and I don't really think there was any laughs in my theater when that happened. I laughed just because of the sheer absurdity of what I was watching. I think it was a little bit too much for my brain to really handle, and I respond to that by laughing. So yeah, that was a highlight for sure. Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey were both great in this. Um, and yeah, I think I've really covered most about what I want to talk about. I think major criticisms, yeah, the tone. I think we could tighten the pacing a little bit. Um, yeah, writing isn't their strong suit. It feels like the themes we're using here, where it's to not, let hatred and anger guide you, feel a little bit repetitive from the last movie when that was kind of Knuckles' whole thing, where he was mostly just an idiot, but he was also like, well, my clan was taken out by the owls, and Sonic's like, well, no, my owls were taken out by your, it was a whole thing, and them coming to trust each other. It felt a little bit repetitive here with Shadow, but at the same time, this is firmly anchored in what Sonic Adventure 2 is and was. So I kind of give that a pass, even though it's like, eh. So yeah, overall, I probably give this. Let's see, I gave the second one. I don't remember what I gave the second one. I gave it a rating in my head. I never talked about it on this channel really, but I'd probably give this like a 7.5 out of 10. There's definitely, yeah, it's definitely writing could be better. It could be better aimed at both kids and adults. Though that being said, a lot of great nods to the games that if you're a kid, you probably don't understand. If you haven't played the Sonic games for like 10, 15 years, you wouldn't understand. So a lot of great stuff for both kids and old Sonic fans alike. Um, but yeah, overall, I feel good about 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, I want to now shift focus to the mid-credit scene, the first scene we get once the credits roll, which features multiple Metal Sonics and Amy Rose. And I thought it was an interesting pick. There are a lot of theories going around based on the clothes that Tika Sumter was wearing in the poster that we were going to get a character that featured the color pink. If you're not aware of this theory, in the promotion for the second movie, she wore black clothes or red clothes. I'd have to look up to be sure, but then Shadow was revealed at the end of the movie. I think she wore yellow too for the first movie, which is where Tails was revealed. So we were all thinking, well, it's probably going to be Amy, but what if it was, people were wondering. And we start the scene with Sonic being surrounded by multiple Metal Sonics. And immediately, when I think of Metal Sonic, all right, I think of two big Sonic games, all right, Sonic Heroes and Sonic CD. Now, we're not going to talk about Sonic Heroes because I don't think that's super relevant, though I think there is a nice nod to it in this movie. Um, what I think of when I think of Metal Sonic is I also think of Amy Rose and I think of Sonic CD. The main plot of that game was, well, you're traveling across. I think you're on a. I forget the location of where you are, but you're traveling through time trying to catch up to Metal Sonic, who's kidnapped Amy Rose. And now, granted, Sonic having his, ass saved by Amy Rose in this tells me that we're not going to get that story specifically. I also think, Damsel in Distress is a little played out. Wouldn't play well in 2027 when the movie comes out. So I think it's going to be a lot more of a collaborative, like Sonic and Amy teaming up to take on Metal Sonic, which makes a lot more sense. Um, so yeah, I definitely think we're going more of a Sonic CD route with this. When you have Metal Sonic and Amy together in the same room, that's just what I think of. Um, it's a underrated Sonic game. Well, okay, it's not underrated. It's underplayed. Not enough people have played it. I don't think. Um, it's pretty good for a classic Sonic game. Pretty good, really good actually. So yeah, I think we're going that route for sure. Whether that means we're going through time collecting the different time stones or whatever the fuck they were in that game, I don't remember. I'm not good at classic Sonic, so I couldn't tell you. But um, all I want from Sonic 4 at this point, you know, cool Metal Sonics, cool Amy action. Um, I just want Sonic Boom. Yeah. If you've played Sonic CD, just like YouTube Sonic CD intro, or look up Sonic Boom. There's a chance you've heard of it. That song, it's pretty well played throughout the ages. I think it's in Smash Bros. Brawl. I think it's in the other Smash Bros. Games that Sonic is in, if I'm not mistaken. But it's it's not Live and Learn. It's not City Escape, but it's up there as far as classic Sonic songs go. Um, so definitely check that out. I want them to play that, and not. I don't know if you can get a pop off like you did in this one with Live and Learn, but I do think you can make something happen with that. So that's all I want. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm calling my shot. Whether or not Jim Carrey returns, I hope he does. He's easily a highlight for me in these movies. Um, and wouldn't make much sense because I'm pretty sure he's the one who builds Metal Sonic in the first place in the games, at least. So theoretically, he'll be back, but no way to know for sure. We just need him to spend all of his money again, so he needs to get another paycheck. How long have I been recording? I might just start wrapping up here. Oh my word, 20 minutes. That's crazy. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me on this. I do believe. Am I out of focus? Shit. Well, it is what it is. Um, I'm excited for Sonic 4. I enjoyed Sonic 3 quite a bit. Nothing. Yeah, nothing game changing, but it did Sonic Adventure 2 very well, and that's really all I wanted from this. Solid performances all around, great story. The Maria stuff was good. No one cheered in my theater, thank God. Um, yeah, so if you liked anything that I had to say here, subscribe, leave a like, follow us on our socials. We stream on here and on Twitch, so be sure to check those out. We do Mondays and Thursdays. So this, as a recording, Christmas week is coming up, so the schedule might be a little wonky. So stay tuned to our socials, stay tuned to our YouTube feed, all that good stuff. We'll be putting info out as we go. But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Check out some of our other stuff. Bye bye.